Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know it's been a while since we've met up and talked about true crime case or whatever else I'm covering on this channel, but I'm back in today with a case that you've probably heard of before and honestly breaks my heart to talk about, but it's something that we have to keep in mind as, young women, probably most of my viewers on this channel. It's really, really important to keep what happens to Sierra in mind. And this video is just, to educate and protect yourself and to also learn and be knowledgeable about Sierra and what she has gone through and her life in general, because I really like to shine light on a victim instead of more of the perpetrator in this video, as screw that guy, honestly, screw him, I hate him so much. But, before we get into it, as you can see, new shelf. Yep, I have an entirely new shelf. It's the Billy shelf from IKEA, and it is completely wider and bigger. I have an even custom little shelf for my pops. It's, perfect for them. And then over here, I have the book that I'm reading right now and the book that I just finished. So kind of to give some space, know what's going on in my life. And I know my eyeliner is horrible because this is my second day learning how to do it. So just let's forget about it. Let's pretend that this is not here. But I really tried to, make it look nice. Without further ado, let's get into the case of Sierah Joughin. Sierah Joughin, her nickname was C. She was born on February 11th, 1996 in Sylvania, Ohio. And just to describe her, I mean, there's no words. She had a beautiful, contagious smile with like pearly white teeth. She was such a beautiful, beautiful girl. And she had an even more contagious personality. She was described as friends and family alike, that she would constantly be there for somebody. She was that person where it was like you're struggling at midnight and then you could text her, she would reply right away. She's just that kind of dedicated, heartwarming person that we all need in our lives. And she made an impact on her friends and the community in so many different ways. She graduated from Evergreen High School. She ended up going to the University of Toledo after graduating the high school in 2014. And there she was studying human resources management, which honestly, I don't know too much about, but if she likes it, then go ahead. Sierra also had a boyfriend. His name was Josh Zansky, and they knew each other since they were really young kids, but they really started to get to date and grow even closer when they were in high school. Josh described Sierra as, quote, "We were the couple that was always together. If there was a Josh, there was a Sierra." And that comment or that quote, literally, it just breaks my heart. But it is also so sweet at the same time because it showed how much he truly loved her, and it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful quote just to think, and even looking at pictures of them together, you can see how happy she was with him. So on the warm summer's night of July 19th, 2016, Sierra and Josh were riding their bikes back to Sierra's house. See, they were previously at Josh's house to hang out, and now it's time back to go to Sierra's house. So they left around 6:45. And Sierra was riding a regular mechanical bicycle and Josh was riding his motorcycle right next to her. So they were riding on the back roads, and Josh took a picture of Sierra and posted it to Snapchat of her smiling and riding the bike. So they were riding for about 15 minutes, and then around 7 o'clock, Sierra was less than 2 miles away from her house, and she was like, "I can make it back from here, you can go. I'm literally so close to home." And he didn't think anything of it, right? I mean, they had done this multiple times. They live pretty close. So she's like, "Okay, we'll depart." And he leaves her for Sierra to go ride back to the house by herself. So this was around 7 o'clock p.m. that they departed, and Josh would get back to the house and call her like he always did, just to make sure that she made it back safe.
On the road, and she told me that, she was yelling at me that she didn't need me by her side and that she was fine, and we were at a corner and I gave her a kiss and said bye.
Josh gets back to his house and he calls Sierra, and she does not pick up. He's like, okay, she's probably still riding back, doesn't want to, bother or answer her phone while she's riding her bike. So waits a little bit, calls back again, goes straight to voicemail. And then he does it again and it goes straight to voicemail. And this keeps on happening. And over a while, there's kind of a of worry that starts building up in his stomach. Like, why isn't Sierra answering? So he does the next best thing. He doesn't want to freak out and start calling the police, so he calls her family. Maybe they know where Sierra is. So Josh calls Sierra's mother, and she has no idea where Sierra is. So Sierra's mother then calls Sierra herself, and still nobody answers. And multiple extended family keeps doing this, and nobody's picking up. So, I mean, when this starts happening, what do? You can't just keep sitting there and hoping for the best. So they eventually have to go to the police and file a missing person report. So the police took this claim of a missing person right away. They took it immediately, and they started searching where Sierra was last seen, which is that County Road 6 that I was talking about. And I'm gonna put up some pictures and some, Google Earth images, and you guys can just see how rural this area is and why it would honestly be very concerning for her not to pick up or answer. So the police start rummaging, they start looking through all these cornfields, and they find something that just makes my heart absolutely drop into my stomach. Scattered on the ground were several key items of interest. There was a pair of sunglasses, an automated fuse, a bloody screwdriver, and even farther back in the cornfields was a bicycle, and that was Sierra's bicycle. On the handles, blood could be seen. Motorcycle tracks made an indent out from the scene, and corn stalks were damaged and knocked everywhere. It was clearly a struggle that happened here. So a farmer came forward and said that he was driving by this area a little past 7 o'clock, and he found a motorcycle helmet on the side of the road, and he just put it in the back of his truck. But then he came forward, like I said, and gave it to the police, and when they examined it, there was a bloody handprint on the helmet. So, I mean, we know what this is looking to. This is obviously not a missing person case anymore. This is clearly an abduction. There was clearly a struggle here. The police tried to use Sierra's phone and her Fitbit to try and track her, but since the pings from the phone and the Fitbit were showing up so close to the crime scene, they were essentially useless. And then they started talking to some witnesses around the scene, and a witness saw that they saw a green van speeding off at a really high speed away from this area around the time that, everything kind of went down around 7 o'clock p.m. The witness was able to provide a license plate, and they gave it to the police, in which the police used this to track down their first suspect of the case. Less than 5 miles from the scene was a man named James Worley. He lived around this area in a quiet rural farmhouse, and essentially was just, really kind of humble and not really well-known person in the community. But the thing that did stand out, that he was registered as an offender. Not only was he registered as an offender, but his license plate was also seen around the area at the time by a witness. So police are kind of like, hey, why are so many things leading up? Why is he there? There's really no reason for him to be there. He's an offender. His license plate was there. We have to go question this guy. So upon doing so, James admitted that, I was riding my motorcycle over here and I lost a few of my items. I lost my sunglasses, my automated fuse, and a screwdriver, and my helmet. So none of these things had been released to the public. Nothing really had been released at all. So police were like, okay, this is oddly specific, about everything that was found at the crime scene. And the fact that this stuff had blood on it was not really looking good for him. So there's footage of them asking James these questions, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, I didn't kill anybody. I don't know who she is. I didn't kill anybody. He keeps saying that one term over and over again. And the fact that at this time, this was an abduction / kidnapping. So why are you saying I didn't kill anybody? Nobody said anything about murder yet, kind of jumping a little bit ahead, I would say. Interesting. Upon looking into James and why he was registered as an offender, something in his past happened that is not even a coincidence. It is entirely identical to what happened to Sierra. James Worley was born on April 8th, 1959 in Tacoma, Washington, but he grew up around Ohio and actually attended the same high school, Evergreen High School, that Sierra attended. So he wasn't really a star student. Throughout school, he maintained a 1.59 GPA and smoked and sold marijuana throughout his years since age 14. Growing up, he stayed around the area of Fulton County, Ohio, and worked several odd jobs and mostly just kind of made his living as a farmer. And he lived in a farmhouse, the one that I previously mentioned. But in July of 1990, coincidentally the same month, something happened that it cannot be a coincidence. It is almost entirely identical to what happened to Sierra, committed by the same man. Robin Gardner was riding her bike in the middle of a hot day on July 4th, 1990, near White House, Ohio. So James was driving in a pickup truck right near the road, and he's driving really fast, and he actually rams her off her bike, and she flies into a ditch. And as she's sitting there trying to bear her surroundings, he walks over and hits her so hard in the back of the head with some object and picks her up and starts screaming at her, "Get in the car, I'm going to kill you." So she starts screaming and thrashing, but he manages to shove her inside the car, and he's about to drive away until Robin manages to escape, and she's running, screaming for her life, and thankfully a passing motorist saw her and noticed that this is not right at all, and she's begging him, "Please take me to the police station, please get me out of here, somebody's trying to abduct me." And James walks over and he's like, "No, she's crazy, she's my girlfriend, we had a fight, she doesn't know what she's talking about." But the motorist knew something was wrong, and he immediately took Robin out of this situation here. At the end of the attack, James was sentenced to 4 to 10 years in prison, but he only served 3 years. So I don't know what the whole point of that was. So James was registered as an offender in the area, but was just able to keep on living life. And after that attack, he kept kind of racking himself up in prison with marijuana charges, stuff like that, around the earlier 2000s. So honestly, I don't know why they kept him out. It makes literally no sense to me that this huge thing happens. He only serves 3 years for it, and then he keeps repeating offenses. They may be minor, but he keeps repeating offenses and they still keep him out of jail. I don't get it. As you can probably tell, this attack on Robin Gardner was practically what the police believed to happen to Sierra. So they took this really seriously, and they obtained a search warrant for James Worley's house. So since the search warrant was granted, police were able to search his farmhouse and all his other items. They found his motorcycle, which had blood on it, and they also started to look at his truck, which had other extremely disturbing items, such as zip ties, a ski mask, rope, handcuffs, duct tape. Also in the truck, there were several recording devices and film that were also noted and inside the truck for some reason. So this is already not looking good. It's extremely horrifying to think about coming upon the scene and finding all the sick stuff that was just basically hiding in plain sight. So as the police made their way inside James' farmhouse, they found several extremely unsettling items in there. There was blood on the walls, and they found this dungeon behind these hay bales. So once they kind of found their way over there, they found a huge freezer inside the ground. And once they opened it up, there was a carpet, and it was soaked entirely in blood and had dirt on it.
I actually lined the carpet, and I actually took the swabs from inside the carpet area.
Do you recall what the entire, do you remember smelling anything when you were taking those swabs?
It was a foul odor, almost like a heat comp kind of smell to it.
Okay. Did you notice any smell of bleach?
Not that I recall.
Police also found several pairs of women's underwear, one of which was bloodied. All over the property were nanny cams or recording devices, just found everywhere along the property. It makes you think, why are they there? And as the police were rummaging and testing and looking through different items such as a mattress and duct tape actually were found with Sierra and the killer's DNA on it. The police have loads of physical evidence to convict Worley, but just so the prosecution has kind of a stronger case, they obtained his phone records and found that he was in the exact area at the exact time of the abduction And comparing his license plate that was also seen at the crime scene, there's no doubt that James Worley was the one who committed this horrific murder. So they have all this physical evidence, they have this technological evidence, but they don't have Sierra. The police also were able to look through his history and what else was on his computer, and he had previously looked up words such as hitchhiker, gag, helpless, and other disturbing words like that. I'm not gonna really go into details. So on that same day, July 22nd, 2016, James Worley was arrested. So sadly, on July 22nd, 2016, Sierra was found. She was found in a shallow grave off of County Road 7, so not too far away from where she was abducted, in an absolutely dehumanizing and disgusting state. She was found hogtied, which means that her wrists were handcuffed and her ankles were also handcuffed, kind of put behind her back. She had this oval object in her mouth that was 3 inches wide and 2 inches in length. It was this yellow oval object that was placed inside her mouth so forcefully and so heavily that it actually chipped one of her teeth. And she had a plastic bag tied around her head, and she was just thrown into the shallow grave off of the side of the road. There was no sign of sexual assault, but just to think about this, that she was only 20 years old, is absolutely disgusting, and it makes me so angry. James Worley was immediately arrested and charged with several charges that I can't even fathom. I mean, he was charged with murder, kidnapping, abduction, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence. James Worley and his team, they pleaded not guilty, but after almost a year in court, with several witnesses and the physical, technological, and every sort of evidence, he was found guilty on all charges. So in 2018, he was actually sentenced to the death penalty, but this has been held back for several reasons, because of the pandemic and because his lawyers keep making constant appeals to other courts that, this is an unfair trial. We want James Worley to be tried again. So because of this, his death sentence has kept being held back. I know it's hard to look at some sort of a positive after such a cruel and horrifying case such as this one, but at least something positive such as Sierra's law was enacted. Sierra's law guarantees that the community is aware and they're able to identify offenders in an area. This law helps prevent future tragedies such as Sierra's murder. So every year, a 5K is held, themed with purple, as this was her favorite color. Sierra Strong is a program taught in all Ohio schools. From kindergarten to 8th grade, young children are able to learn about how to defend themselves. This hopefully will prevent such horrifying murders such as this one. And like I said, I know that just compared to what we lost, I mean, at least it's something, right? It's absolutely heartbreaking, and heart really hurts for Sierra's family and her boyfriend, how guilty and just how horrible he might have felt that Sierra was so close to home, less than 2 miles away, and they decided to depart ways. She was so close to being safe, but she was so far away at the same time, and it really hurts my heart. Thank you for watching my video, and I'm really happy that you got to hear Sierra's story, and hopefully her name will be kept alive, because it's really important that we understand and we learn from horrible tragedies such as this. I want you to remember Sierra and everything she stood for and everything in her life that made her truly a star, such an amazing, beautiful girl. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit here and listen to me talk about Sierah Joughin. And I hope you have an amazing day, and check out my other videos if you really want to. Bye.